This piece of contextual storytelling, I think, is very useful for those of us on our own, filming, vlogging, and capturing stories, but we're the only one really doing most of the work. And it often happens like that with myself. This particular story happened was again Paul. You've seen him in the previous lesson, previous video.
As part of our low impact camp, we even put our bedrolls on the track itself.
We had wild camped. We decided not to set up tents or anything. We would lie on the desert floor. And if you've never done that, it's such an amazing experience in the African, any desert really, and just lie under the stars on the ground. On the ground, not on a roof tent, on the ground. There's a connection with. Anyway, I digress. I wake up. Now I've got the camera next to me because I know that something could happen in the middle of the night.
Oh, what an amazing night. What a privilege to sleep under the stars.
And I would either want to record the sound or, if it was light enough, roll camera. So I have the camera in a waterproof container bag next to my bed on the ground, ready for me to just pull it out, turn it on and shoot. So I did a little piece to camera about the Southern Cross. It was really, really early. So I literally just set up the camera. I literally just set up the camera like this and pointed at myself and started talking. It doesn't get better than this. Lying under the southern sky. The sky in which there is the only constellation with celebrity status.
The Southern Cross is it's a constellation used by explorers for centuries to navigate, because it is such a reliable and easy to identify way of finding true south. Now if you look at the constellation, the crucifix is easy to spot because it has two pointer stars and they always point to the top of the crucifix.
Then Paul got up to make coffee and there was a bit of a banter between us. And I was using the 4-second rule, okay, and I would point the camera with the lens cap off at Paul, and he would be saying something. I've got a short rifle microphone, so I'm reasonably good with capturing voice. There was very little other ambient sound. So I'm holding the camera, I'm holding it still. 4-second rule, holding it still. Okay, so I'm holding it still and I'm pointing it at Paul and he's talking to me. And I am talking to him too, but I've got the camera here. So I can just get my framing right and I'm talking to him. What would I have in an edit? If you think about it, Paul would say something, one character would say something. What would be the shot you would want to cut to? You would want to cut to a reaction, wouldn't you? So what do?
Bacon and eggs. I know what I'd like, some of those little chipolata sausages.
Absolutely.
Could you do that?
Did you just dream something? You've obviously woken up from a dream.
I'm on my subject because he's now reacting. I'm controlling the conversation. So I then turn it around to myself and I say something to Paul. Then he comes to bring me my car and we have this little banter, which I think is very funny.
Could you do that?
Chipolatas? Next time. You've obviously woken up from a dream.
I am in a dream.
You're in a dream.
I am in a
The
dream.
reality is that coffee's about it.
Not a bad dream. Not a bad one. I dreamt about Gwyn last night.
Yeah, what did you dream?
She was being very nice to me. No, don't read anything into it. Come on, this is not Freudian. Don't read anything into it. She was just being nice to me.
Been alone for a week too long.
No, she wasn't being that nice to me. Fantastic. Oh, you're taking her around that way, are you?
The rusks are here.
Yeah, very
Your
funny.
coffee's about here somewhere. Did you say you want?
Genuine. It's genuine. It's not scripted or set up, it's genuine. That's why this little technique is so, but you're editing, but I'm busy editing in my head. I'd like a shot now here. Oh, Paul's starting to move with the coffee. So I swing the camera around and then I hold it still. I hold it still. I hold it absolutely still. And then Paul now moves with the coffee next to me, and then I pan with him, nice and smooth, nice and smooth, nice and smooth. Okay? And he does his little thing about putting it far away from me. I swung the camera around and I pointed at myself. I'm acting, but it's real. He's moving around. He doesn't even know the camera. He's so used to having a camera around, he just does his thing. And I am constantly getting him, getting me, getting him, getting me. And I'm editing in my head.
Paul, do you want a rusk?
No thanks.
That's a pity, I was going to put them over there.
And that's what you've got to do. You've got to become an editor while you're actually pointing the camera at things. Construct your story. Gee, a wide shot would be good right here. Get a wide shot. 4-second rule. Use the 4-second rule. Because every time you do change angles with the camera, you'll get a usable shot. If you don't use the 4-second rule, you will think that it's been running for 4 seconds, and it's probably not. It's very common to shoot a shot that is far too short, and that's difficult to use. So minimum 4 seconds. Remember, it's a minimum 4 seconds, not maximum, and not every shot has to be 4 seconds. That's the minimum. Okay, it's important that I reiterate that because it's sometimes confusing people. Oh, it has to be a 4-second shot. No, it doesn't. Don't let it be less than 4 seconds, is what I'm saying. And keep the camera still is so important. If the subject is moving, then fine pan or tilt with the subject. Otherwise, the camera is absolutely still. All right, I think it makes an absolutely lovely little sequence.
Many of you may be thinking, how can you lie? So exposed to wild animals. Well, it's actually a cattle area. Donkeys. Saw a lot of donkeys, cows.
Hello everybody. Today we're going to talk about B-roll. B-roll, for those of you that don't know, is the also-ran footage that supports the narrative. So the narrative could be called A-roll if you like. That's the main story and structure. The B-roll is all of the other bits and pieces that is shot to support the narrative. Absolutely vital for good storytelling. That introduction sequence, it's one of my favorites actually, that I've done, introduces a motoring show. We took a vehicle through the deserts of Oman, and it was the first time that I had shot in that interesting country, and I wanted to demonstrate to the viewer straight off that it was A, about motoring, B, we were in an Arabian country, and wanted to present to the audience the flavors of the Orient. This is Dubai, with its spirited combination of the ultra-modern and a past as old as human history itself. I'm here by invitation. The brief is bring your toothbrush and your driver's license and we will look after everything else. And come and drive something amazing in an astounding place. That was good enough for me. What they didn't tell me was what vehicle would they give me to drive. And I remember we were actually, at the time, we had been shooting a lot during the day in the city, and those shots actually occur a little later in the film. And it was getting late in the afternoon, and we had our guide had been suggested a restaurant. We were going to have some local cuisine. And I saw on the beach, a little bit of a distance, guys on the camels, and there were tourists around, but there were camels, and the sun was going down. I thought, camel sun. You must remember that mostly B-roll is shot on the hoof. It's just, you see it, and you just, and you keep your eyes open, you go and find it. And at that time, of course, when seeing the opportunity and seeing the sun and seeing the camels, I had no idea where that footage would appear in the film. Don't think it has to have a place in your head and a place in the film for you not to need it. B-roll is the essence of good storytelling, because it means that you can have, if you need to have a narrator explaining something, you have footage for that. If you have somebody talking to camera and you want to keep it short, because lots of face to camera can be tedious, much better to show than tell. That's a principle of storytelling. It's much better to show something than tell something. If you can do both with narration and B-roll, wow, that's the way to do it. And this demonstrates very, very nicely how well the B-roll worked. There are 2 shots in there that are A-roll, were actually shot as part of the main shoot, and those were the vehicle shots, because we went later to go and fetch collect a vehicle, and I wanted to get a whole lot of different vehicle shots, and then finally we have our vehicle delivered to us. That's not really B-roll, or there is a bit of a grey area, obviously, but the fact is that those shots were used in this sequence because it's a motoring show. So the opening sequence had to say, interesting country, interesting place, Middle East, it's about cars. And that's what that opening does. And as you can see, it's mostly B-roll. Little later on in the film, I'm taken down through a market. Now the market again was, the market scene was, we decided to go to the market because it was more local flavour. It's not really part of the motoring story, it's part of the local flavour story. And I had a guide, and you'll see some very obvious B-roll shots. Take a look. This is my host, Sean Mayer. A bit of a surprise, South African, expat, been living here for well over a decade. And he's taken over as director, producer, doing a good job at it too. So I see there are 2. There's the top and then there's the scarf.
So actually, it's the same, right? So this is Saudi, typically, and this is Jordanian with the tassels at the bottom. So typically you'd only be wearing the one, and in a sandstorm you would cover up the face.
We spent a day filming in Dubai, a couple of little sequences. Again, many of them were not scripted. We had some ideas for them before we went in. And then, of course, this kind of filming is wonderful because things are just kind of present themselves, and one has to take advantage of them while you're actually shooting. So B-roll is very much it's got to be constantly running in your head. And as a director, cameraman, camera person, you're always looking for those bits of detail to puff up, pump up, embellish the story. That's what B-roll is very, very good at. In this sequence, I was now waiting for the vehicle to arrive, and I wanted to build up a little bit of tension in the story because I didn't know what it was going to be. And so again, in the story, in terms of storytelling, building tension is great because it keeps your audience involved. Again, B-roll embellishes that. So by getting, you'll see here, I'm waiting for this vehicle, this whatever is going to be given to me. I have no idea, but I keep getting shots of this really old tatty Land Cruiser. So there was a bit of a counterpoint there, and I wanted to try. I don't know if it works. I think it kind of does in a way. It kind of works that they do have in their inventory some very, very old tatty Land Cruisers. Maybe they'll give me one of those instead of something, you know, fancy that I'm hoping for. I think it's a nice sequence. Take a look. Can I have a look around?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. We're proud to show.
The vehicle's on its way. Because I don't know what they're going to give me. I mean, they've told me it's not off the shelf. And they've said that they're very confident that I'm going to love it. But is it a Jeep? Is it a Land Cruiser? I know a little bit about the Arabs and the way they like to modify their vehicles. And they really sometimes go so over the top. It's just unbelievable, some of the creations they come up with in these countries. I have no idea what I'm going to get. In fact, I'm too scared to guess. Oh well, while I wait, I guess it's time to look at some of the accessories they produce, and of course these delicious old Land Cruisers. This Land Cruiser is believed to be the only 1958 original unmodified Land Cruiser of its type that is still running today. And why it's significant to me is that this green was originally done for the military and only available to the public in the 1960s. Those few examples, I think, is a good start in understanding how important B-roll is. In the next video, I'm going to talk about equipment. What equipment is the best for those B-roll shots, particularly those B-roll shots that you have to capture on the run. And of course, B-roll audio is every bit as important as B-roll video. In this video, I'm going to give more examples of where I felt that the B-roll footage that I have used in my programs have really made the difference. And towards the end of the video, I'm going to share with you what equipment I used to get such great footage. Scared of pressing the buttons here in case it accidentally shoots a torpedo and sinks the Jeremiah O'Brien. Forgive me for a moment while I indulge my love of ships. The Jeremiah O'Brien has an even more illustrious history. She is a Liberty ship, a rare survivor of the 6,939 ship armada that stormed the Normandy beaches on D-Day in 1944. Amazingly, she is kept in ocean-going condition and returned to France on the 50th anniversary of the D-Day landings, the only large vessel from the original landings to return. The ship footage was really an afterthought. We were in San Francisco, we were visiting a place in San Francisco where they build these trucks that I was about to drive, and we thought we would do some touristy things, and the ship was just so enchanting. I love ships, and could be photographed so well. The light was nice, I had the right equipment, so I gathered a whole lot of B-roll footage, and it turns out to be a nice, short, nice little diversion from the main story. It's quick, and it just changes the pace of the video in terms of the storytelling. A little diversion sometimes helps, as long as it doesn't take the focus too much away from the main story. A little diversion is good. During the trip through the US, and that particular one, I shot a lot of material because the scenery was interesting, the road trip was nice, although quite uninteresting because it was just, you know, asphalt, so we weren't going off the beaten path, we weren't going off grid or anything special like that. It was just a nice trip and a fairly ordinary camping spot. But it turned out to be a very nice music montage. Now, in storytelling, it's always a great idea to vary the pace. So if it's a very strong story structure and you need some light relief, or you need to change, I like to call it break state. Your audience is feeling a certain way, is gathering the story, and a break state means change of pace, change of scene, change of feeling and emotion. In this particular situation, I used a piece of music. We were out in the country. It was a nice piece of library music that I found that just had a nice feel about it. and it was suited to a road trip. This sequence is 100% B-roll.
Death Valley.
Down every golden road, paved in fallen souls, people strive and struggle for their dreams. It's a sordid, sour game, fools and foul are all in play. Fix us in, we're heading up this street. When you're broken down, far away, forsaken towns, wearied by the weak link in your chain. One whimper or a sound, better days are surely crowned. Better hold your hope, hold tighter on the rein. Under skies full of fire, burning embers fall instead of rain. See me there, I aspire, hanging on, though all my feeling vain. Well, lessons we are sold in the fabled tales of old. Bow your heads, get on your knees and pray, while calling out his name. Turn a sinning soul to saint. You know trouble's sure to find and cause pain.
In this example, the B-roll footage is actually used as an opening music montage to a new episode. Now, you'll notice the music that I've used presents the mood, but so do the sound effects. So the sound effects were captured at the time as separate. The cattle in the background, there's a voice, there's the sheep herders, you can hear their voices. That was recorded separately. I don't even think I was filming them. So again, this is now a combination of me gathering B-roll footage, B-roll sound, and compiling a sequence to open an episode. I want you to look specifically though at the lenses that I was using during this sequence. See if you can pick out a common way I was shooting. And then we'll talk about the equipment that I used.
Might have been a room call. Because I don't know how to tell you this, but it's self-service.
B-roll footage is there to add texture, to add flavor, to add detail. Rarely do lots of wide shots as is B-roll footage. So I mean, for example, if you had an action camera on the front of a bike, yeah, you could use a piece of that as B-roll footage, but with wide shots, there's so little detail. You know, if it's just mounted on the front of a vehicle going over a track, what is it saying to your audience? It's saying to them, you're on the track, and the track is rough, and the sky's blue. What else is it actually, what other information is it actually giving to your audience? The answer is very little. If you had a wide shot of a town or a city, what information is it giving to your audience? City? Sunny? Not much else. And there's a very good chance that shots like that are going to be used in your narrative anyway. You'll have establishing shots, so your audience will understand the position, location. You'll have used those already. So for B-roll, they're not great for B-roll because you can use them for B-roll, but you've got to keep them short. You can't have, you know, I see a lot of drone shots used as B-roll, but unless that drone shot is fantastic and presenting the information to the viewer that is rich and full, and there's lots of it, again, you can't run them for long sequences because they become tedious. Every shot of a video should be presenting a certain amount of information to your audience, And the soundtrack that goes with it presents the emotion. In other words, how the audience is meant to feel. So that's why I go on and on about when gathering B-roll, it's absolutely vital that you get B-roll sound. We'll talk about that first. Microphones like this are very, very good. This is a Sennheiser. You'll see the details below in the video description. It's a long rifle microphone designed for general audio. It's very good for voice if the voice is reasonably close to it. Very good for ambience, but very good specifically for the sound of an animal, a bird sound, the particular V8 engine roar, or something like that. Full ambient sounds, much better to use a stereo microphone because it gives volume. All right, but for B-roll footage, B-roll shooting, specifically shooting for B-roll, a microphone such as this is a very good choice. In terms of lenses and cameras, the best B-roll is getting close to your subject. Now, a lens such as this is, I use this a lot for B-roll. It's a 16 to 35 millimeter f2.8 lens. Being wide angle zoom, it means that I have to get close to my subject. And when I say close, very close. Because that's what's so beautiful about a lens with a wide opening, such as 2.8, is that you can throw the background out of focus and the audience's eye immediately latches onto the piece that you're focusing on. So in other words, you can have quite a lot of image in the frame, but only small part of it in focus, and the eye catches that small part that's in focus. And now it's a very interesting perspective because our eyes don't normally see that. We're now seeing it blown up, or we're seeing it in really, really clear. There's something about this kind of B-roll, capturing this kind of B-roll with a wide angle lens, getting in really close. And when I say really close, I'm talking close. I'm talking that close. Literally talking this close to your subject matter. The alternative to a wide angle lens is a telephoto lens. In other words, your subject is far away, but you're bringing it close. So again, get close. So you might not be this close because obviously telephoto lens, you're magnifying the image. But what I'm saying is fill the frame, make it rich. Again, using large apertures mean that you can separate the focus where your subject matter is in focus and the background is out of focus. The effect of that on your audience is that your audience homes in on a very simple image. Because if you think about a wide image, there's lots of data. So what does your audience focus on? Nothing specific. Nothing specific. The moment you want your audience to focus on and see something specific, you've got to get in close. And the best way of getting in close, wide angle zoom, getting in very, very close and opening the lens up so the background is out of focus, or a telephoto lens, you don't have to get as physically close to the subject, but still do the same thing. Fill the frame using wide apertures, and again, you can, as a filmmaker, decide on what you want your audience to see, and they will see that specific thing and nothing else. And that is the beauty of this shooting B-roll with this kind of camera. In the previous scene, you saw the opening. I was using there a Canon 5D Mark II that was filmed in 2012, that particular scene, and I was using the standard lens, which is a rather nice, was a 24 to 105 f4, if I remember correctly. And when it zoomed in, it gave a reasonable, and I opened it up all the way to f4, and it gave a nice look, a really nice look to those scenes. So I'm not using very highly specialized equipment. I'm just I'm using good equipment, but I am just taking advantage of the wide aperture and getting in close to my subjects. And the final one on this mini-series about B-roll, I'm going to again show you how to apply your mind when out there filming. How do you find the B-roll? What do you do to actually, you know, your eyes are scanning around, you're looking for that detail that I've spoken of. How do you go about doing that?